Okay, Jim, I have 6:55. We're ready to go.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll call to order tonight's Committee of the Whole for our December 1st, 2020 Auburn City Council meeting. City Council should have the minutes from the November 17th Committee of the Whole. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, do I have a move to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
And those minutes carry forward. Questions on the agenda for the city manager?
Mayor, I do have one item on the agenda that the applicant has asked for us to remove. That's item number 8F. F as in Foxtrot. We will remove that item from the consent agenda, if that's okay with y'all.
Sure. All right, any questions from the council on tonight's agenda?
Did you say 8F?
Yes, ma'am. 8F. That's the easement, East Brook Homes Southern Incorporated, that item to be removed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any questions? No questions for the city manager? Okay. Do I have a move to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned. We will get started right at 7 o'clock, okay?
Nice tree there, Mayor.
Thank you there, Chief. Appreciate it. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We'll start with go ahead and call to order tonight's Auburn City Council meeting for December the 1st, 2020. Roll call, Miss Lindsay.
Dawson,
Here.
Dixon,
Here.
Griswold,
Here.
Hovey,
Here.
Parsons,
Here.
Smith,
Present.
Taylor,
Here.
Witten,
Here.
Anders.
Here. You'd now please join me for the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance, and then afterwards we will have a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll begin tonight by recognizing our outstanding employees with a video, as we have been doing for a while now. So, Greg? Today, we're pleased to introduce you to our December Employee of the Month and our other employees who've done a great job for the City of Auburn. Today, we're proud to recognize our Employee of the Month for December 2020, Ms. Caitlin Myers, and I have a memo from Art Seatman, the Deputy Director of our Economic Development Department for the City of Auburn, that was written to Philip Dunlap, our Economic Development Director, and to Jim Buston, the City Manager of the City of Auburn. I'd like to recommend Caitlin Myers in the Economic Development Department as the Employee of the Month for December 2020. Caitlin joined the Economic Development team in October of 2019. She was hired as an Economic Development Manager to run our entrepreneurial and technology programs in support of startups and technological innovation in Auburn. Caitlin's work ethic and professionalism to carry out the mission sets a clear example to others. After just a few months of orientation and training, she is fully capable to independently run programs that benefit our young companies and interested citizens. One of the many duties she took on is the management of the Additive Manufacturing Accelerator, where we serve 10 companies and 3 startups by supporting the utilization of the fairly new technology of additive manufacturing to build prototypes and evaluate the use of technology in product development and business development of those entities. Her work output is excellent, and her ability to fill the newly creative job with much finesse and dedication is to be applauded. We're excited to have her working with us. Caitlin has developed into a very valuable member of the Economic Development team. Congratulations, Caitlin. Today I'm proud to be at Auburn High School to recognize the 2020 7A Alabama State Champion Girls Cross Country team from right here at Auburn High School. This is the 4th year in a row that they have been the state champions, and each and every year we have brought them to the Auburn City Council chambers to recognize them in a more public setting, but this year we're doing it through video, and certainly appreciate all you ladies getting out of class for a few minutes. I'm sure that was hard for y'all to do. And Coach, thank you for coming up from where you work, and thank you to all the staff that is here today for allowing this to happen. I do have a resolution from the City Council that I'd like to read. Whereas the Auburn City Council is pleased to honor Auburn City Schools, its faculty, staff, and students for their excellent achievements and contributions both inside and outside of the classroom. And whereas the 2020 Auburn High School Girls Cross Country team defended its 2019 state championship by becoming the 2020 state champions, achieving the title of state champions for the 4th year in a row. And whereas the team won the state title by the largest point differential between first place and second place in Auburn cross country history, winning by 56 points. And whereas the team had the following individual placements at the state championship: Sanji Lincoln Velez was the individual gold, which means she finished first, with teammates Abby Murner finishing 3rd and Olivia Toll finishing 12th. And whereas the Auburn High School girls cross country varsity team consists of team members Sanji Lincoln Velez, Abby Murner, Olivia Toll, Stella Stewart, Eva McGowan, Elizabeth Nist, Mila Reagan, Leslie Gray, Mary Elizabeth Hadley, Sally Owen, Abby Brown, and Olivia McNulty. And now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Auburn, Alabama, that the council hereby recognizes and formally congratulates the coaches and the athletes from the 2020 Auburn High School girls cross country team for its outstanding achievements and exemplary efforts in representing Auburn City Schools and the City of Auburn. And be further resolved that a copy of this resolution to be spread upon the minutes of this meeting and presented to Athletic Director Dan Norton and Head Coach Olivia Tafani and the team. Adopted and approved by the Auburn City Council on the 1st day of December 2020. Congratulations, ladies. Thank you again for our team at Public Affairs for putting together those outstanding videos. I want to congratulate Caitlin Myers for doing a fantastic job each and every day and being our Employee of the Month. And thank you to all of our other employees that we recognize tonight. And congratulations again to the Auburn High Girls Cross Country team for being a fantastic program and representing your community so well and really having a dynasty now. So congratulations to them. Under Mayor's announcements tonight, I have a couple of things I'd like to talk about. Mr. Buston, I know we're going to have a video recognition in a couple of weeks from the ETC Institute, but if you could just briefly announce the recognition that the city has just received.
Okay. So Council, we did send you an email. The ETC Institute, which is the company that does our citizen survey, they do citizen surveys around the country. And so they awarded us an award that recognizes local governments who have achieved outstanding performance in the delivery of services to the residents of their community. Recipients of this award ranked in the top 10% of the country in service delivery. And they recognize, or they measure us on 3 core areas: satisfaction with overall quality of service, satisfaction with customer service provided by employees, and satisfaction with the value residents receive for their tax dollars. So, and while it's important to recognize that we were in the top % of the country, we actually were #1 in the country in one particular area, and that's in our service of trash, garbage, and recycling. So in that particular area, we had the #1 satisfaction rating in the country. I'm incredibly proud of all of our employees who allowed this type of recognition to happen, because without them, it wouldn't happen. And as the mayor said, they will formally present this to us in a Zoom presentation at our next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Buston. Certainly.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I do have one thing, just as a matter of since you did read that resolution, we do probably want to get a motion and a second from the council and a vote just to have it on the minutes. That's for the cross-country team.
Sure. Would anybody like to issue a motion to approve the special recognition, the resolution for the cross-country team?
So moved.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
thank y'all for doing that. A couple of other announcements I'd like to make tonight. The CCOPS organization will be recognizing Auburn Police Officer Alex Miranda at the December 7th, which is this coming Monday, Auburn Kiwanis Club meeting. And this is an organization that quarterly recognizes different members of law enforcement here in Lee County for their outstanding work. And I look forward, and many of you might be there as well, to being there with Officer Miranda on Monday as he gets recognized. This Sunday's the Christmas parade in downtown Auburn. I think the downtown merchants are putting together the Christmas parade, and certainly encourage our families to go downtown and be a part of it. I want to remind them to please be careful and respectful to all those that you might be around on Sunday, and make sure there's plenty of space and room between you and someone that you might not live in the same house. But we certainly appreciate this longstanding Auburn tradition of having a Christmas parade, and thank you to Jessica Kahn and all the downtown merchants for their hard work on this. COVID numbers are certainly going up. There's a lot of alarm and concern in our country, certainly in our state. And I just want to remind our community to please be smart and respectful as you go about your daily lives. Remember those that you're around. Remember those you might come in contact with, and please be safe and careful as you live your lives. It's Christmas season, so I encourage everybody to shop Auburn, support those businesses here in our community that support you, and to support all the activities and all your kids' activities. It's a very unique and special time. They need all of our support and help that they could get. So please remember to shop Auburn here this Christmas. And then finally, tomorrow night, the Auburn High School football team will play for the state championship in Tuscaloosa. I look forward to going up and being with the team and watching them play. The game will be televised here locally on the radio as well as on the television. But I'm just proud of the team and the coaches and the administration at Auburn High School. They have, as the girls cross country team, they have represented us well, and we wish the best for those guys as they get prepared to play for the state championship. That's all I have as far as announcements tonight. Does anybody else on the city council have anything they'd like to say? Okay. Seeing and hearing no one, do we have an Auburn University communications tonight?
I don't see her.
And I wasn't expecting that.
I don't see her.
Okay. Well, finals are going on, and most everybody's obviously at home taking their finals. So all the best Auburn University students, and we certainly look forward to them being back with us in January. At this time, we'll move forward to citizens communications for items on the agenda. Remember, this is only items on our agenda. Please give your name and address for the record, and remember, you have 5 minutes. These are items we would ask you to speak just to items that are on tonight's agenda. Mr. Buston, do we have anyone?
No, sir, we don't see anyone.
Okay. We'll move forward to city manager's communications.
Under city manager's communication this evening, the first item of business is the announcement of 2 vacancies on the Board of Zoning Adjustment. These terms will begin January 21, 2021 and end January 20th, 2024. The appointments will be made at the January 5th, 2021 City Council meeting. The next item of business is the consent agenda. Does any council member have any item that they wish to remove from the consent agenda and deal with that item separately?
Yes, Jim, I'd like to take 8D1, 8 Delta 1.
8D1,
Yes, sir.
okay.
And Mr. Buston, I'd like to remove some as well, please.
Okay,
8 Echo 4, 8E4, 5, and 6. The 3 items.
Anyone else?
I was just about to get, I was going to ask for the same ones that Kelly just asked for. So,
Okay. Anyone else have an item they'd like to pull from the consent agenda? Okay, Mr. Buston, I think we'll go in order. So 8D1.
so item 8D1 is the tax abatement for Alabama Industrial Development Body LLC for the construction of a new building for SIO2.
Thank you, Jim. I just wanted you to kind of explain this.
Hold on just 1 second, Stephen. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Okay, have a motion and a second. All right. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Mr. Dixon.
Yeah, I just wanted you to kind of explain this particular tax abatement and what it's doing for our community. I had constituent asking me about this, and I just thought it would be good for this to just be, for the answer to be out in the public.
So with these abatements, as you know, we do not abate school taxes, we do not abate hospital tax, and we do not abate the children's home tax. So when we talk about a tax abatement, that means only the property tax that the city would get. This, in this particular situation, this is a company that's building a facility for SiO2, and if some people on the Zoom don't realize, SiO2 is a company that's basically helping save the world by developing these vials that the vaccine will be contained in. They are ramping up production 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. They need additional facilities, and they have an option to put that facility pretty much anywhere they want to do it. They could put it in Auburn, and we could reap the benefits of having the OCC tax, the occupational license fee that we collect by everyone who works in Auburn. You've probably seen in the paper where SiO2 is paying quite well for all of their employees, from the warehouse staff to the engineers that are actually needed to put the glass inside the vial. So this is a very important company for the city of Auburn. We are thankful that they continue to want to develop here in Auburn and continue to hire folks in our area. So it's a very lucrative project for us overall. I can have our economic development director, Philip Dunlap, talk a little bit more about that. Philip, are you on?
Yes.
Could you say a few words about
Sure.
this?
In essence, this is a similar structure that we put together for Briggs and Stratton when they built their Southeast Regional Distribution Center. It was a third-party developer who built it for and entered into a 20-year lease with Briggs and Stratton and that new distribution center on Beehive. This, in the current situation, SIO has expanded already and taken 2 additional buildings, and they need a distribution center. The current distribution is occurring in 2250 Riley Street, which they need to move all of that racking and distribution activities out of that building, and they need a new space to put it so they can add more coating lines in their existing building. They're ramping up from making around 3 or 4 million vials a month to 10 to 12 million vials a month, and the target is even more than that. And so what happens is those employees and additional ones they've hired will work in this facility. It'll be owned by a third party initially. They have a shorter term lease. SIO has an option to purchase the building, and it's actually being ground leased on land that SIO owns. So it's really a means of third party financing, because they've already invested close on this vial production with money from the federal government, $100 million. And so he's got even further demands in capital equipment on this ramp up. So this allowed him to have a third party build that distribution center, which is very essential so they can move those vials and all of that warehousing out of that building and put it on a piece of property which they currently own, which is exactly next door to their production facility.
Thank you, Philip.
I'd be glad to answer any other questions, but it's an essential project. It's part of a major ramp up. They're already up to 784 employees. They've ramped up from 300 to 700 in the space of 5.5, 6 months. And it could go even higher than that as things are progressing.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure, no problem.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Okay, thank you, Philip, for that exciting news. 784 employees. Wow, That's pretty impressive. So we have a motion and a second. No further questions. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
Item 8E4 is a contract with Goodwin Mills and Kaywood for architectural service for the Environmental Services and Public Works Departments relocation project in the amount of $867,350.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? Mr. Griswold.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, I asked to remove 4 and 5, just so we can probably get a good overview of the status of the overall project in terms of environmental services and public works relocation, as well as the property purchase. So again, no problem with this. I'd just like to have an overall update and discussion as where we stand on that, and possibly how that ties into the Boykin campus renovation. So just the discussion, please, or explanation.
Okay, so I'll let Megan just go over. Megan, if you want, you can address both of those, the contract with Goodwin Mills and Kaywood, and then our property purchase contract.
Absolutely. I appreciate the questions. We are moving forward. You approved a contract with HORE Program Management in October that is doing construction management for us for the Environmental Services and Public Works Complex, because as previously discussed over the last year, that project has been moved up to accommodate some things particularly needed at Boykin, and also to accommodate the indoor swimming pool, new library, other things. And I'll give you a list of that. But to get on the Goodwin Mills and Kaywood side of it, and explain that agenda item, ultimately, HORE Program Management helped us reach out to 9 different firms for them to submit RFPs to select an architect and kind of all-in design firm on this project. The firm selected by our internal team and with help from HORE Program Management was Goodwin Mills and Kaywood. So this is the first step in proceeding with the design. There is a memo in your file in your packet that will talk about the general timeline of the complex. So in order to proceed, we also have a property purchase contract for a little over $1.8 million. I want to caution you on that. That's $30,000 an acre for 62.91 acres, Outwire Road near the intersection of Beehive Road. I want to caution you that $30,000 an acre is a maximum that is still subject to appraisal, and it's the lesser of the two. So if it comes in at $27,000 an acre, that's what we'll pay. We went through quite a lengthy process over the last several years to identify property for this complex. We have searched the city high and low, and we had to go Outwire Road. We looked at a number of things closer in. The challenges with closer in properties, it goes from $30,000 an acre to $100,000 or $200,000 an acre. And we need a massive site. The current Environmental Services, Public Works, and Boykin Community Center sits on not much more than 10 acres combined. And we have a lot of functions going on there. So this site, Outwire Road, is ideal because it is adequate acreage. It is relatively flat. We talked a little bit about this during the budgeting process. We have about an acre of wetlands, and for 63 acres of property, to have no major streams or wetlands other than an acre, that's doing very well for us. It's also out on the edge of the city where it will not disturb adjacent residents and existing subdivisions, which is also a challenge for us. Our crews are very dedicated, but they come in at 4 o'clock in the morning. Some of them come in the middle of the night to deal with storm debris and other things, and we can make a little bit of noise doing what we do. So that is the property purchase component. We've already completed a phase 1 a phase 1 environmental is what we've not completed, but we've completed all of our other analysis of that property. And to kind of speak to timeline that is in your packet, we are moving forward to do this, to be out to bid by late summer with the Environmental Services and Public Works relocation, so that it can be completed in about a year's time frame. And then that would be during fiscal 2022. That project would be constructed. Meanwhile, in fiscal 2022, we're going to be designing Boykin campus improvements, not just community center, but campus, to be under construction in 2023. And those improvements, just to remind you a little bit, we discussed during the budget, that includes a library. That library has grown from about 10,000 square feet to 20,000 square feet. The Parks and Recreation and Culture Master Plan called for 10,000 square foot branches, but we're using this as a true second library. So it'd be 20,000 square feet. We've got a museum going. It would be the Auburn Center for African American History and Culture. That would be going very near Donahue, where the recycling center sits today. The library would be behind it. Where the environmental services building sits would also be a little bit of the library. Where our current public works building sits will be a recreation center to include 2 full-size basketball courts and 1 outdoor recreational pool and 1 indoor recreational pool. But as we put in your memo, I want to be careful about that pool. It has competition lanes and it has an area for recreational swim and for low impact fitness. And that was something you discussed heavily with the Health Plus relocation. We'll also have a fitness center that will be moved out of the current Boykin Community Center so we can free up more community meeting and or agency space, and a full-size locker room, and then a lot of parking, a very large amount of parking. And then last but not least, for Al Davis, the final set of renovations to the Boykin Community Center, we need to add a kitchen for one of the daycares and make a small expansion and just clean up a few other things that weren't in the last set of renovations. So it's quite an undertaking, but our commitment level was to move this project along to get under construction in fiscal 22, so Environmental Services and Public Works can move. Meanwhile, in fiscal 22, designing Boykin, so in fiscal 23, we can get under construction with the Boykin expansion and campus improvements, and that is a massive project. To make sure you're clear, we have about 14 million budgeted for Boykin right now, $1 million for design and 14 million for those improvements. Of course, that cost is expected to increase, but that will hit the next biennial budget process, and we're monitoring that carefully. And then all in Environmental Services and Public Works was about $1 million in design, this amount in property acquisition of 1.7 to 1.8, and then 13.5 million is slated for construction. And those costs could escalate a little bit as we finish programming, and we'll know more as we jump into design. Can I answer any questions?
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Megan. I appreciate all that information.
Hey, you're welcome.
The memorandum you mentioned on a timeline, I'm not sure if that is in the packet or not.
Yes, it is with the property purchase. If you want to go to the next item, it just talked a little bit in the bottom of, it's a memo from the city manager to the city council with item 8E5, and it explains a little bit about the timeline with the Boykin campus improvements.
Okay. Don't see that memo, maybe.
85 after the, yeah,
Right,
doing those
the
in
item
Cambridge.
summary, Mr. Kelly.
Where?
That's just a summary. It's Megan, it's not a full timeline.
No, sir, I'm sorry if I created confusion. It's just mentioning to you a little bit about how we plan to handle the Boykin campus improvements.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I see it in the memo. There's some notes at the bottom. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions specifically on 8E4? 8E4? Any other comments? 8E4. Okay. We have a motion second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries.
Item 8E5 is a property purchase contract in the amount of $1,887,300 is for the Environmental Services Public Works relocation project.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any comments or questions from the council? Kelly, did you get all yours answered?
Yeah, I had all mine answered. Thank you so much.
Okay. Anyone else?
Okay, I just got a question, and I don't know if I missed this when she was giving an outline. Where's the museum gonna be located?
Right now, you don't have a master plan sitting in front of you. We've been working to adjust that, but it has been located at this time, and we'll know for sure when we get into final design, closer to Donahue, very near where the recycling center sits today. And that is the best spot for it, adjacent to parking. It'll be prominently placed and very visible from Donahue, and coincides well with the library that will be just behind it. And there'll be some garden and kind of open space between the two where there could be, it's kind of similar to the outdoor classroom that sits at the current library. So that's why it's been shifted to that location, is it has the best synergy there, and is a prominently placed location that'll be highly visible from Donahue.
So it's a new building. It would be a new construction.
Yes, ma'am.
All buildings will be new, Ms. Taylor, except for the current facility, the current Boykin facility. We're tearing down everything that's there. The environmental services building, the public works building, all that is going away.
The fueling pumps will get moved.
Okay.
All of that. You'll have the Boykin Community Center as it exists today and the Boykin Gym. Those two buildings remain, and the playground equipment and so on between this. This includes bigger walking trails around the buildings, 350 parking spaces. It's a massive project. And behind the existing Boykin Community Center, some more open space style fields. We do have some water and wetland and low spot areas we have to deal with there. But yeah, everything else will be torn down or removed from the property.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, and that motion carries. And Jim, next one would be 8E6.
Item 86 is a contract with Southland Transportation Group to purchase 2 international HV 607 SBA cab and chassis vehicles. These are the vehicles that you see that we use to pick up yard debris. They're the cab and chassis that has the cab in the front and the kind of the container in the back with a little arm that comes and picks up the trash or the debris and puts it in the back. These are at a price of $358,059.02. That's for both of them.
Do you have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Mr. Griswold, I'll go to you first.
Thank you. Yeah, I think these things are definitely needed. My only question is why only 2 of them? I know that perhaps is what was in the budget, but I think there's a possibility that we may have underestimated what the real need is. And I take that kind of as a outcome of a discussion I've had with the folks that help pick up here on Cecil Lane, and they do a fantastic job. But they've been a day or 2 late from time to time, and in talking to them, they say that the reason is they only have 2 trucks available because of maintenance issues or whatnot. So I was wondering if it'd be possible for us to adjust the budget in some way to provide them additional resources, because they do such a fine job. I hate for them to be limited by a down vehicle. So again,
I think that was the big issue that we had here with our current ones. And I think you and I had spoken about this, that when they may have said that to you, it was because they had vehicles that were in disrepair and were being repaired. These are the 2 vehicles, the 2 trucks that we need to replace that have had the most problematic. I can let Ms. Cook, Katrina, would you like to address that?
Jim, one other thing Katrina will address and go into more detail on is these are single operator vehicles. So this is doubling, and Katrina can provide a lot more detail on that.
Okay. So there's sufficient vehicles for the operators that will be displaced by buying these single operator vehicles. There's sufficient other vehicles to keep them gainfully employed and in service?
Of course. Katrina, do you want to go ahead and?
Yes, there are sufficient vehicles to keep them gainfully employed. The new vehicles we're purchasing use 1 operator. The other vehicle that you see them using all the time uses 2. This will allow us to cover more area at a quicker pace without having to leave the route. So that's the reason why we're moving to these new vehicles as well. But we have a total of 6 knuckle boom trucks with the grapple that you see collecting the yard waste.
All right, so you're satisfied or convinced that replacing these two is sufficient at this time?
At this time, next year, we have 2 more on the agenda. So this will help us get to where we need to be with our collection route process.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Thank you, Ms. Cook, for joining us. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
And that
Those
motion,
are all the items that were taken off the consent agenda.
do I have a move to approve the balance of the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? And the consent agenda carries forth.
Under ordinances this evening, we have item 9A is the approval of a working capital loan interest subsidy program from Troy Bank and Trust for Auburn Day School.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Does anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with a vote on this evening? Hearing none. Lindsay, with the roll call, please.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Hovey,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Anders.
Yes. This time we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address the city council on this, please raise your hand. And we will call on you. Please remember to give your name and address for the record.
Here we see none.
Okay. This time we'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from the council? Seeing or hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Lindsay, with the roll call.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Hovey,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Anders.
Yes.
Those are all the items we have on the agenda this evening, Mayor.
Okay. This time we'll open the citizens open forum. This is your opportunity as a citizen to address the council about anything that might be on your mind. Please give your name and address for the record. And remember, you have 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Mayor, we have a Mr. Morgan Duckett.
Morgan Duckett. Okay. Mr. Morgan Duckett, can you hear me?
Absolutely. And I'd ask, could I preface really quickly? I've timed my statement to exactly 3 minutes, but I don't want to blindside you guys.
Okay. We'll let you know when you get close. Okay.
Okay. Well, I have 2 other people with me, and I just want to say this is not a referendum on the mayor or city council of Auburn, but we'll continue from there. So yeah, good evening. My name is Morgan Duckett. I reside in Ward 8, 802 West Longleaf Drive. And I'm here with some fellow organizers to speak regarding the construction of private mega prisons in Alabama. I'm going to provide information on the propositions and the nature of the prison industrial complex in Alabama, while Hannah and Leah will continue with actionable items and concerns regarding our city. So on September 3rd of this year, KIV announced a partnership with Alabama Prison Transformation Partners and Course Civic to circumvent legislative approval and construct 3 privately owned prisons in Bibb, Elmore, and Escambia counties. The partnership is a public-private design, build, lease agreement in which Course Civic would design, build, and own the facilities, while the state would lease from them for $88 million a year for 30 years, which is then renegotiable every year. So we all become the renters of a privately owned mega prison, and at the end of the $2 billion lease, the state owns effectively nothing. So it is a fiscally preposterous idea. This plan was done without public consent and in response to a DOJ mandate that stated our prisons are operating unconstitutionally due to failures to protect inmates from violence, excessive use of force by correctional officers, and most of all, inhumane overcrowding. The solutions to these conditions does not lie in entrusting companies known for their own human rights violations stemming from overcrowding to build a shiny new building for our incarcerated population. The solution lies in reforming the system that put them there. There is no incentive in the proposed plan to address overcrowding. In fact, Course Civic is incentivized to do the exact opposite to maintain profits. And that leads me to the prison industrial complex. So the prison industrial complex is a term used to describe the overlapping interest of economic, social, and political the overlapping interest of government and industry that use surveillance, policing, and imprisonment as solutions to economic, social, and political problems. The result of that overlap is mass incarceration. Alabama has an incarceration rate of 946 out of 10,000, or nearly 1 in 100 people, a rate that is a whole third higher than the rest of the US and nearly 9 times larger than the United Kingdom, Canada, France, and most of the developed world. We send an unconscionable amount of people to prison in Alabama. And if you are Black in Alabama, you are 3 times more likely to go to prison than your white neighbors and almost always carry a heavier sentence. Besides the racial disparities, Alabama also has the highest homicide rate and suicide rate out of any prison system in the United States. So the prison industrial complex has experienced exponential growth since the late 80s, where policies like the 3-strike rule, which in Alabama is the
Right at 3 minutes, Morgan. Need you to wrap it up.
Right. So, so all of this is perpetuated by lobbying of state and local leaders, by private companies like CoreCivic, and the state and the cities must strive for an equitable, community-oriented solution to mass incarceration, overcrowding, and seriously deliberate with input from its citizens and communities before committing to 3 more decades of wasted taxpayer dollars on corporations that profit off of the bodies of Alabamians. And that was the end of the remarks.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Duckett, we have you on here 3 times. So who would be the next Mr. Duckett that would be speaking?
Right, the next one is Hannah Krawczyk.
Okay. So Mayor, Ms. Krawczyk is ready to speak.
Okay, go right ahead, Hannah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hannah Krawczyk. I'm a student at Auburn University, and I'm a constituent from Ward 3, 575 Shelton Mill Road. So as Morgan said, we've been working with a group of concerned citizens in recent months to seek clarity just on how governments in the region are involved with this prison building plan, particularly in Tallahassee. So given the fact that there have been no public hearings on this prison plan, really we come today to try and determine who's been contacted or even involved with this project. We've approached other local governments, including mayors, to determine their level of involvement or position, or even any level of contact on this matter. In addition, I personally have sent an open records request to Auburn University administrators to determine if there's a role in this matter at Tallahassee, given that the university owns a parcel of land incredibly close to the proposed prison site and would potentially be involved in granting easements for utilities or selling the land even to aid in the completion of this prison project. So really any information that could be provided by the City Council tonight would be greatly appreciated, considering the lack of transparency at the state level. I have 3 main questions that could potentially help in our information gathering process. So the first is, have any representatives from the City of Auburn been involved in any conversation related to the prison being built in Tallahassee? And then, has the City of Auburn been asked to contribute any resources, information, or any other need from other entities related to this prison project in Tallahassee? For example, have you been contacted about utilities needs? And if yes to either of the previous questions, what has the city said or promised in these conversations or agreements about the prison plans, specifically the one in Tallahassee? Thank you for your time, and we would really appreciate any clarity or information that y'all might have about the Tallahassee prison project.
Okay, thank you very much.
And there's another Morgan Duckett, and I'm not sure who this one will be. So if you would just let us know who you are and your address, please. Go ahead. You will have to unmute yourself.
It asked me again, but I think it's actually Leah.
Okay, Leah? Leah, what your last name is?
Sorry for the confusion. It went to me this time. I'm sorry, all the names are Morgan Duckett.
That's fine. If Leah would just give us her full name, her name and her address, we'll go from there.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right. Hi, my name is Leah Billy Welburn. I live at 112 North DeBartolome Street. I'm a 13-year resident of Auburn and a graduate of Auburn University. I reside in Ward 4. Thank you, council members, for granting me time at the meeting today. Thank you for Morgan and Hannah for briefing us all on this important issue. On behalf of all Auburn citizens, we have 5 actionable items that the council could pursue. I'd like to ask that the council firstly join with other municipalities in our region to request in writing that public hearings be held by the state. These hearings would need to be safe. These hearings would need to safely accommodate all interested attendees in person and online. They would need to give ample notice to publicize the event beforehand. I hope that the council easily recognizes that the efforts by the state to inform the public have been woefully inadequate given the scope of this project. Secondly, I ask that the council appoint a representative to coordinate with existing interested parties for and against the project to keep the council informed on both sides of this important issue. Some parties that are for the project include Governor Kate Ivey's office, Alabama Prison Transformation Partners, and Core Civic. Some examples of parties standing against the project include environmental groups, Alabama Appleseed Center for Law and Justice, Southern Poverty Law Center, American Civil Liberties Union of Alabama, Auburn Justice Coalition, and No Prisons for Tallahassee, among others. Thirdly, I ask that the council pass a resolution to support an independent study group with representatives from each affected municipality to consolidate and address citizen concerns in an open and transparent way, with meetings and documents available to the public. Fourthly, I ask that the council empower the study group to solicit the opinions of experts on the issues surrounding for-profit incarceration, environmental and social impacts of rural prisons, the validity of claimed economic benefit, and other related concerns. And fifthly, I ask that the council request that the state delay any movement on contracts or land purchases until the study group is able to compile a public report and submit it for comments. Thank you for your time. I hope that this council will give these concerns the urgency they deserve and move swiftly to address them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address the city council this evening? Citizens open forum. You see anyone, Jim?
Mayor, we have no one else.
Okay. All right. Do I have a move to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you.